They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread and butt sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got 3 big old dicks that you can suck. Yeah, noon and 1 for you guys. 9 and 10. Like 9 is even that early. It's not. It is for me. Don't hit.
Not when you have two children.
No, but I just leave them to it in the morning. They do fine
For sure. Yeah, that's part of it. You're such a worthless. You're the most worthless piece of shit I know. That's not at all worthless. You identify as a deadbeat piece of shit. You're just not one.
Yeah, but I'm here all the time.
He's worked
all the time
really hard. He's like that kid where the teachers say, "You worked so hard trying to figure out how to get out of it. You should have just done it." Trae has figured out in his life what he don't have to do.
That dude, that is so 100% true. I used to say, like, people would ask me about, because like even in high school and then later in college and stuff, I had a 4.0. I always made straight A's, and people who knew me well would be like, "How the fuck are you doing that?" Because I also was just like a drunk party and bag of shit or whatever. And it wasn't just that I was a prodigy or whatnot. It wasn't that. It wasn't just that. It was part that.
Right.
But no, it wasn't that. I would literally do the calculations, what Drew was just talking about, for every class I had. Every one of them. I would like look at the syllabus and how the grading worked or whatever. And I swear to God, every single class, I would do the very bare minimum that I could do and still make an A in it. Like, for example, I had one class that met at 8 a.m. on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays.
That don't hit.
And I looked, and there was only 2 parts of the grade. I still remember this. 90% of the grade was exam scores, test scores, and 10% was attendance. So in my head, I was like, as long as I make A's as long as exactly. Yeah. And I never went. Like, I went the first day to make sure that I wasn't wrong about that. I never went back except on test days, because we had those on the syllabus, and I would study for the test on my own, and I'd show up and just take it and then leave. But I never went to class besides that, and I made an A. I've lived my whole life doing exactly what Drew was talking about. Doing the bare minimum I could do, and also,
hitting at it.
Hitting.
This didn't go.
Man, it's so funny that I just had this conversation with my mom. They were talking about my nephew Jake. He's trying to pull that shit, but he's also like wanting to be a redneck. So he's like cutting classes and dipping with his buddies, and he keeps getting caught. He keeps fucking up. He's not a prodigy. And they were talking about like having that rude awakening as a person, like when it happens. And I was talking about it not really happening to me until law school. Apparently, I had forgotten about this. Andy was in a political science class that I had accidentally forgotten to take, and I had to take as a senior. And I only showed up the day I had to do a presentation. I didn't even know she was in it. I don't remember, but apparently like it was a presentation, and then I just was there. I did my presentation. That and the test at the end was the whole grade. Crushed them both. It was like a 100 level political science class. Yeah. I lived my whole life that way, but law school got me. And I didn't.
Hey, can we talk about something I know about?
Well, you'll know about this.
You don't know about making bees?
No, you'll know about this.
Not in college.
You just said law school got you. Like, I want to say, just for everybody listening, for the record, I'm not condoning that type of behavior. Like, you get into, I think show business or whatever is the same way. Like, I could do that at Tennessee Tech University. I couldn't have done that in medical school or whatever. And also, like, I sleep late now, but like, I also do shit at 6, 7 o'clock at night.
I'm just busting your balls.
Yeah.
You were. But part of the reason I brought it up is I was laughing, imagining you spying on your kids 4 mornings in a row to make sure they were old enough to handle it without knowing you're there, so that on days 5 through the rest of infinity, you could sleep.
That's literally exactly what happened. Yeah, when it first started, I got up and was with them and made sure that. But now that they got it, and also I set a little alarm for like 8:25. It goes off, and I'm like, "Hey, y'all on the computer, you got your pencils?
It is a little. It's definitely
okay." And then I go back to sleep till like.
It's definitely different. It's definitely different now, like pandemic wise. Like you know what I mean. Like, it's not like you're having to like walk them over there and shit. Like
Honestly,
they got it.
honestly though, that was easier, because just drop them off.
Then, then they fucking leave. That hits.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Used to, my alarm would go off and I'd get up and be like, all right, let's go.
Right.
And I'd walk them down to the school and push them through the gate, and then I go back, rip all my clothes off, collapse into bed till 11 a.m.
I envy, man. There is literally no way. It's hard enough for me if I wake up at 7 in the morning or something and I gotta pee. I'm not going back to bed. I can't, there's no fucking way if I got up and actually walked to a school and then came back, bro. I'm so jealous of that. Like, I've never been more jealous of anything, because my cutoff is like, if I wake up at 3 in the morning, there's a good chance I'm going back to bed. But honest to God, anything like 3:45 past, hello day, it's Corey. I hate you.
I have that, and Corey, you can sleep through more things than me. I have that, and y'all will fart, and I'll just, what was that?
Yeah. No, I will say this. Usually once I'm out, I'm out. Like, it takes something insane to wake me up. But if it does happen, then it's ball game, and I'm awake. Because, the only reason I'm ever able to fall asleep is that I fight with my demons for 3 straight hours in bed, and then eventually I do get physically exhausted, and then I have to sleep. But if I wake up at any point and I've had any type of a nap, the devil's just like, yeah, let's do this. You're fat. Hey, you hate yourself.
Can we talk about this for a minute? Because I also had trouble. I always had trouble falling asleep initially. I never had trouble staying asleep, but I had trouble falling asleep too, because I couldn't turn my brain off, which is exactly what you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, your brain's just going a mile a minute about important shit, and you can't shut it up. Mm-hmm. I've got a couple different tips I can give you, both of which have worked for me pretty well. And this is about to get weird, but I don't give a fuck. They both work.
It's okay. If it works, it's fine.
One of them is daydreaming, but not about anything remotely possible. So I don't mean daydreaming about having a Netflix special or daydreaming about being on a sitcom, because that is the same version of your brain running wild.
Yeah, because that's what it is.
If it is at all attainable, it don't work. So I'm talking about daydreaming about, for example, what I did, hunting space dinosaurs, right? Stuff like that. Or daydream about being a pirate on a ship.
That does it.
Or whatever.
But then my brain would start being like, but you could be in a movie where you hunt dinosaurs. I wonder.
I ended up basically outlining an entire space dinosaur
I was about to say,
movie by the time it was over. I did do that.
I was about to say, I would definitely be like, oh, I'm going to write this. This is good, which I am writing a space thing right now. But
that's why it has to be. That's why it has. And I still did that. But I did.
But either way, I know what you're saying. Are you trying to induce dreams? That's what you're doing?
It's not that, it's just getting your brain off of important shit. So I'm saying I still ended up, over the course of multiple nights with that particular narrative, I still ended up basically outlining a space dinosaur script. Well, I never once was like, I'm actually write that, and I'm not going to actually write it, because you have to pick something that is so out there and so ridiculous that you won't allow yourself to become serious about it, because that defeats the purpose. And then
that's not a bad idea.
But go ahead and respond to it. What were you going to say?
Well, my response was, first off, that's good, and I'm definitely going to try that. But one of my responses was like, please don't think that it's always important stuff that keep me up at night, because very often it's kind of like that joke in The Void that you wrote, where it's like, sometimes it very much will just be me going like, oh my God, do you remember what you said to that girl at the 7th grade dance? You fucking idiot. Like,
I do that all the time too.
And then, but then that will turn into like, and then you did this, and then you did, and last week, you fucking dumb fuck.
But that's still versions of how you don't hit for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. So I like this. I like space dinosaurs. I'm into that.
The other one is interviewing yourself about something very mundane, but that you know about. Like, for me, I'll think about, like, I'm reading fantasy novels right now. Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson does it. And I'll think about, like, the how it compares to, like, the science fiction series that I just read a little bit ago. And it's like, I've read both of these. I have thoughts on them. Like, in my head, I'm like, and the characterization, this one's whatever else, but it's not like, it's not important or anything.
Yeah, it's not threatening. It doesn't raise your fight or flight.
Sort of like, so, like, I feel like, Cho, you could do that with, like, comic books or something. You could like sort of compare comic book storylines in your head or whatnot. You know what? But don't turn it into, I'm gonna make a show about this, whatever.
And I would,
think about the comparison between these two comic book series you're reading or whatever, and your brain will kind of just like, what my brain ends up doing with both of these is like that podcast you showed me, Sleep With Me or whatever.
Yeah, it's great.
You know how like at first you're kind of like listening to it, you're like, what the fuck even is it? But then your brain just sort of like
takes
drifts away or
yeah.
whatever.
I should start listening to that.
Both
again,
of these things I'm talking about, that's what my brain, it keeps my brain from doing all that shit that's intrusive that we're talking about. But also before I even realize it, I'm kind of just gone.
You probably start kind of dreaming about that.
That whole
remember it or
probably.
Not.
That whole intro, that whole interview thing you just said, that's actually, now that I'm thinking back on it, that's also a really good way to just be like, I didn't even know I knew that shit. And I say that because one time I didn't realize how much I fucking actually knew about the Injustice comic series until one night me and you was drunk and high as bat pussy. And you just happened to ask me about it. And I went on like a fucking hour-long tirade. And I remember afterwards being like, God damn, I didn't even know I knew that shit. So I'm going to do that just by myself in my sleep. That does hit. I appreciate that, Trae. That wasn't as weird as I thought. You were like, this is about to get weird. I think this is some good stuff.
Well,
I just felt like
I didn't think it was.
Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
It's not weird. When y'all started, I fall asleep pretty quickly. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to identify with any of this. But as you were talking, I realized that's just what I do.
Yeah.
It's like right before I sleep's the only time I allow myself to have positive thoughts. And sometimes I remember I wake up in the morning and I can't remember where I'd gotten to, and I get frustrated, and because I'm like, man, I really come up. Fuck, what was it I come up with? And so you were just describing what I kind of do without thinking about it. I just start thinking about wild shit and eventually go to sleep.
Yeah, what you just said there is pretty much the best way to sum it up. Start thinking about wild shit and eventually fall asleep.
Yeah.
I guess I said I thought it was about to be weird because it seems to me like it might sound like counterintuitive. You know what I mean? To lay there and purposefully think about wild.
Well, to some people it might.
Effort to go to sleep, but it works for me though.
Right, I was about to say to some people
it just has to be not something important.
Yeah.
Like my wife,
it's not threatening, but it is engaging.
My wife can just sit there and think about nothingness, but that works for her because her mind is usually fairly blank throughout the day anyways. So it makes a lot of sense that the opposite would be true. Fight fire with fire. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. No, yeah. I mean,
I know. No, that's real.
That's the exact idea. You're not trying to keep your brain from doing the thing that it's going to do anyway. You just shift it to where its focus is something that won't keep you up for hours.
No, basically. I'm definitely gonna fucking try that. That sounds sweet.
Well, Trae, I know you got a phone call. Before y'all intro Ed, let me plug Eat Fruit Friday. Me and DJ are doing it again, an open mic on Zoom. If you follow me on social media, you'll see it. And I was gonna tell y'all, I did live stand-up outdoors in Nashville last night. I would give it a 6 out of 10. I saw our buddy Donnie Singstack and our buddy Chance Willie. The 6 out of 10, I felt like that was good. To quote Donnie, isn't that what you deserved? Like, don't you feel like if you'd have gotten an 8 or a 9 out of 10, you would feel like you'd cheated? And I was
took
like,
Donnie
yes,
30 minutes
Donnie,
to say that.
Really right.
Isn't that what you deserve?
That's hilarious.
That's great.
And it was fine. I miss comedy a lot. That's all I'll say.
I want to know. I want to, because you're right. Yeah, I have another call.
I love Donnie and Chance Willie so much, by the way.
But I want to ask Corey if anything noteworthy is worth saying about this past weekend. You got drunk.
Oh yeah.
I'm not trying. This isn't it's some kind of like calling you out.
No, it's fine.
You were very open about it. You were like, yeah, no, I just want to reset. But I just wondered where you're at on that now, because every week we've been sort of talking about updates.
It was.
I'd like an update.
I mean,
you did it Saturday, right?
Saturday, yeah. I definitely.
Was it hard not to drink Sunday?
No, it was easy. It honestly, it was kind of a reaffirming situation. Like it was definitely one of those where like. After I got drunk, I was like, okay, this was the Georgia-Auburn game. It's good to know that you can get drunk for that, and then I don't really want to do that until, Georgia-Tennessee. We're having all our fucking hitness games right now in a row. It don't hit. It does hit.
It does hit, though.
No, it does hit. No, it hits super. But, no, man, it was so yesterday, I've got a lot of shit. We as a group have a lot of shit going on right now, but I pushed some of my personal shit that I shouldn't have. And like, I couldn't do it yesterday, which normally Sunday is like a pretty productive day for me. And all day I was just like, really? I mean, you had fun. Sure, you had fun. But like, this is it, man. It fucking sucks. But yeah, no, it just reaffirmed. Like,
but you did have fun though.
I had a blast. And also,
Okay.
as I was telling you guys, like, I'm gonna enjoy sobering up again because I'd already Drew gone. I had gone to 5 weeks, and I guess I had stopped noticing the benefits. Like, you just plateau. It's like every other day when I was sobering up, it was like, oh my God, like my head does, and you just keep noticing stuff. Well, after 5 weeks, it's just like, yeah, this is how you feel now. And it is good, but you forget how much better. And so one good drunk every 5 weeks will make you go, oh, right on. And so like,
buddy.
Today, and by the way, I'm still a little hungover today because that's the deal. That's why I even went on this journey to begin with. If hangovers just lasted me one day, what the fuck ever. But like when something lasts me two, I can't remember the last time I had just 2 full days to not do a goddamn thing. And I don't want it. I mean, we're busy dudes, and I want to be more busy. But like, but again, I think every 5 weeks I'm going to get reset drunk. I like it. You need to feel like shit. If I'd never felt the sunshine, I would not curse the rain. Reverse that shit, Waylon.
You're right. When we were doing Downton Flabby right before we started hitting and everything, and I was losing weight, the main thing I did was stop drinking. And like you said, the Saturday of the first week when I stopped drinking, because at that point I drank like every day. I don't think I was an alcoholic, but I was a heavy drinker. I drank like every day, and had since college easily. And at that point I'm like 29. I'm 29, and then the Saturday of that first week where I stopped drinking, I slept like 10 hours and I hadn't drank in a while. And I woke up on Saturday morning. I was just walking around my house like, I feel like fucking Tom Cruise. You don't hit Drew. I was like, this is fucking incredible. Like, I can't believe how good I feel.
Yeah, I know.
But like you said, it becomes the norm. Like anything, you do plateau off and you kind of forget, like, cause you'll go whatever, 3-4 weeks later, you still get tired in the afternoon at work or whatever. And you like forget how hard it hits. Right.
Yeah, right.
And for me, because of the timeline of Downton Flabby, it was the Super Bowl. It had been about 5 or 6 weeks. And then the Super Bowl came up, had a small Super Bowl party, and I didn't even get hammered, but I drank. I called out of work the next day. I was like dead in the bed. And I was like, and like you said, it was reaffirming like, oh yeah, I remember now how much this don't hit. About every 5 weeks, reset.
Every 5 weeks, do the, get drunk, reset. Cause like I'm very excited for like this Friday to be like, God damn boy, you feel amazing. Cause right now I still don't feel good. Cause like, it's, like I said, I'm still a little hungover. I'd rather not be alive, Yeah, but tomorrow's another day for sure.
All right. Well, we got a short intro this week because we got a little longer interview period because we're having such a good time, and then got into some real shit that I do believe will hit for y'all, the listeners.
Oh,
our guest this week is a friend of ours and a comedian. He's also Jeff Ross, the Roastmaster General. He's Jeff Ross's cousin. So he mentions Jeff and doing things with Jeff in this interview. He's talking about Jeff Ross because that's his cousin. His name's Ed Larson. And he's one of my favorite people. I love this motherfucker. I have loved him for a while now. He has a documentary out that covers very heavy shit that he will explain in the interview. And the title lets you know that it's going to be heavy. It's called How America Killed My Mother. But Eddie's an awesome dude, and we have a really, really – he's got some rad stories. This is a great conversation. It's like I said, it's got make you laugh and cry. Don't you fellas think so?
I agree.
Yeah.
But just in
case,
we
are in the documentary.
Yes.
If you didn't need more enticement, folks.
But yeah, if anybody out there is thinking like, oh, I don't know if this is the tone I want to go with, you'll definitely laugh more than you will cry in this interview. It was absolutely tremendous. We get into some heavy shit, but Eddie's one of them dudes that's just like, he can't not be funny. He just, everything he says is hilarious. He's a ball of energy and joy. And just enjoy this with our friend Eddie Larson. He's the man.
All right. And we will see y'all next time.
Let's talk about sex. Remember the days when you were always ready to go? Well, now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Listen up, BlueChew.com. That's blue like the color blue. All right, BlueChew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know they work. You can take them anytime, day or night, even on a full stomach. And since they're chewable, they work up to twice as fast as a pill, so you can be ready whenever an opportunity arises. That's talking about your wiener. Yeah, whenever your dick gets up, you're ready to go. Guys, I've been taking this along with the CBD for this about a month now. Blue Chew's been with us a little bit longer, and yeah, everybody in the Forster household, 2 thumbs up. Me and the wife are we're trying to, it's no secret, we're trying to maybe have a little show, and so when I'm home. I'm not home a lot, so we got to get it in. And it's sometimes like I'm not an unhealthy man. It's not that I can't always, get as Conrad Thompson would say, a hashtag super hard dick. But like, it's a lot of pressure when it's like, hey, we got 5 minutes before we go to this wedding or whatever. We got to get it in right now because we don't have a lot of time. And I'm going, oh my God, I don't know if I can perform under this pressure. Well, if you chew up a Blue Chew, you certainly can. Blue Chew is prescribed online and shipped straight to your door in a discreet package, so there's no in-person doctor visit. You don't have to wait at the pharmacy, and best of all, there's no awkwardness. You don't have to run into some dude you used to hang out with in high school, and maybe he stole your girlfriend, so you're feeling a little anxiety-ridden for that anyways, and then all of a sudden the doctor's like, hey, here you got some dick pills. Are these dick pills for Corey Forster? You don't have to do that. It comes in a discreet package delivered directly to your door. They are made in the USA, and since Blue Chew prepares and ships direct, they're cheaper than a pharmacy. Right now, we got a special deal for our listeners. For WellRED listeners only, visit BlueChew.com and get your first shipment free. What the fuck? That's right, it's free. When you use our special promo code RED, you just pay $5 shipping. You cannot beat that. It's free. Just pay the $5 shipping. Guys, if someone is giving you something for free, that means they know it works, and they are banking on you wanting more Blue Chew. This shit is amazing. Again, that's BLUE Chew.com, promo code RED to try it for free. Blue Chew is the better, cheaper, faster choice, and we'd like to thank them for sponsoring the podcast. Now on with the interview.
yeah. So
Don't
Eddie,
play show and tell. I got this. That's my kitty clumper. I got this
Jesus,
in
look at
Africa. Yeah,
look at
man.
that thing.
Yeah, man. You swap a lion if it comes at you.
What?
I love
sure.
this one. It's made from ebony. I got it from South Africa.
That's
Oh,
rad.
yeah.
Is that just a cool thing that you wanted to have, or do you do things that often necessitate you having a kitty clumper?
Well, I try to keep at least one beaten stick in every room of the house.
Yeah.
Got to. That's a good. Yeah, I've got a bunch of little league bats in like random places. Like, you never throw away a little league bat. It's just like, no, I'll whoop the shit out of somebody with that. And it's a woman can use one arm on a little league bat. There's a 13-ounce drop. Goddamn.
Oh
I
my
just
God.
have drugs and money hidden around my house. I think you guys are more manly.
You need weapons. If
Yeah.
anyone who's got drugs and money in their house,
Yeah, you
get
especially
some,
need
get some
weapons.
weapons. Get some.
Well, it's not even a plan. I just accidentally leave my drugs and money everywhere. I'll find them, and it's like it's an Easter egg,
Oh my God.
Ed,
And
were
that
you
is
just
so true.
were you just vacationing in South Africa, or what were you doing there?
We were doing a festival, the International Comedy Festival in Johannesburg, and it was a lot of fun. Me and Jeff went out there. I opened for him, and it was dude, it was crazy. It was like 3,000 people just fucking hungry for comedy.
That's
And
the
it was
name
so
of
cool.
it.
I'd say there's at least that many thousand people hungry in South Africa right now, anyway. But yeah,
Way more than that. It's a very scary place. Yeah, man. Everyone's got a gun. They're very surprised when they found out that me and Jeff lived in America without a gun. They were like, "How do you live?" And these are like little Jewish women talking to us. They're like, "How do you like survive?"
So as everybody knows, because we just mentioned it, right beforehand in the first part of the podcast, this is Ed Larson. Here he is, our buddy, everybody. As we also mentioned, Ed is a comedian and cousin of Jeff Ross. Jeff Ross, the Roastmaster General. So when he says me and Jeff, that's who he's talking about. Also, filmmaker behind the documentary How America Killed My Mother. We're going to talk about that, but I want to wait a little bit to talk about that because I want to get heavily into it. So let's just keep going where we're at right now. And where are you at, literally, Eddie?
Me, I am in my closet in my house. I'm protected by my Miami Dolphins jerseys. I got home and away, and it was a little treat to myself. I got the away jersey.
So down there in North Hollywood, or
North Hollywood, California.
Right on.
I love it over here. It's when it's safe.
That I didn't know if because you mentioned Miami Dolphins. You're a Florida guy, and obviously Florida not one of the better places to be during the pandemic, but neither is Tennessee or Georgia, and both Corey and Drew are back at home. Of course, Corey's been there, but Drew drove to Tennessee, so I didn't know if maybe you had also fled for the safer climes of Florida, which wouldn't have made a lot of sense, but I thought I'd ask.
Man, I got people down there. I'm so worried. I got so many old people down there. I lost 2 people in Florida from COVID, old friends of the family and shit. My friend, my best buddy growing up's a teacher. I'm just so worried for all of them, man. That shit's crazy. It's real crazy. But they like to have fun.
So I don't know if you know.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Yeah, Florida. What are you going to do? So
to every yin, there is a yang for sure.
Eddie, are you even aware that you all of our listeners know that me and Corey, we like to get our fat on, and we like talking about it. Are you aware, I can't remember if I've told you before or not, that you introduced me and Corey to what has become one of our
my legit favorite restaurant.
Yeah, one of our favorite places to fat at, just a Mount Rushmore of fatting for us. Do you know this?
Yes, Ebbets.
Yes.
Ebbets
in D.C. Specifically, the Orca, that cold seafood tower. That specifically.
You changed my life, bro.
Yeah.
Half price after 11.
I know.
I'll fucking buy anyone a seafood tower. Hey!
It's unbelievable, man. Like for real. D.C. was always a place that I was excited to perform at, anyways. But it moved up one more slot whenever you introduced me to the Orca. I would plan the whole weekend around that. It's like, okay, first night, definitely got to go to Ebbets. Second night, we're probably going to go there. Third night, definitely going to Ebbets. So the whole thing was kind of, planned around it. So I really appreciate you, man. A Hall of Fame fucking fat spot.
Oh my God. It just makes me so happy every time I go there. And the best part is you go, you close down Ebbets, you get hammered on seafood and whiskey, and then you just go stumble 3 blocks away and you curse at the White House.
It's awesome.
And and you go and you sleep lovely. You sleep.
Yeah, we did that too. I forgot.
Yeah, we went and smoked weed in front of the White House. And
Travis Irvine was also with us. Who was just on the podcast a couple weeks ago. And yes, we did that. And we went and smoked weed in front of the White House and screamed at it and stuff.
It was awesome.
That was a good time.
Yeah,
man. You told that story about South Africa earlier, and it made me real I don't know, we've just gotten to be buddies, and I just like hanging out with you. You're always a good time, but you're one of those people I forget. I don't think about the fact that you've had these wild ass experiences like that one. Do you know what I mean? Doing a 3,000 person comedy festival in South Africa. What's the craziest one? Comedy related story that you
Iraq on Christmas, man.
There you go.
Damn.
That sounds Iraq on Christmas. Well, do tell, please.
Well, the year my mom died, I didn't know what to do for Christmas, and so
you thought you'd go to Iraq? I get it.
Honestly, it was when the offer was offered to me, I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm going to go hang out with my fiance's family and just be really sad that I can't hang out with mine.
That's true. Iraq is better.
No, I'm just going to go to fucking Iraq and we're going to.
But I can't tell you how many times I thought to myself, whenever I'm on my way to Wayne County, Tennessee, where my in-laws live, swear, God damn,
Guys,
I wish I was going to Iraq.
Yeah,
right
if
now.
I could be catching shrapnel
I would
somewhere.
so much rather be in
Guys,
Iraq right now. than
That's
Wayne
funny,
County,
but that's
Tennessee.
quite literally the Army's whole pitch to people where we're from is,
Right.
listen,
Yeah.
this is fucking better than Wayne County.
Right.
Even Iraq is better than what your
At least
current
if you go over
situation
there,
is.
yeah, at least if you go over there, you might die on accident. Wouldn't that be a nice change of pace?
Yeah, Christmas in Iraq is much better than Hanukkah in Syria.
Ain't get a DUI in a tank, queer.
I went with the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, Dumford, at the time. It was like I was terrified, and then I just remember it was like, all right, anytime you get scared, just like go be by the general because he's not going to die.
What,
Like,
stupid question, I'm sure, but was it like a military transport situation to get you and the whole time, or just like the last leg? Did you fly commercially for part of it, or how did that work?
On December 23rd, we flew out of Andrews Air Force Base on like a C something. The plane was like 3 stories tall. There was a Humvee in it. We're throwing footballs like 40 yards at each
One
other.
Of those gigantic cargo plane things?
Yeah,
Fucking awesome.
That is
It was
crazy.
It was
Hey,
rock and roll.
I don't know how the physics of this work, but like, did the football go faster when you threw it towards the back of the plane?
He just threw it up in the air and then it got to the back. No, it just.
I don't know.
No. It owns like I guess it owns its own everything up there. It's all like life just normal
Because
like,
it's
you're not really-
pressurized.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I had to wear like a winter coat and like a beanie and shit, and like because it was like 30-something degrees because we were flying so high. And then we stopped in Ramstein, in the Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany for
Oh
an
yeah,
hour.
you got to stop
Isn't
in
that the name of that
Rammstein.
band?
Yeah, I was so happy when they landed. Like, all right, now we're stopping in Ramstein. I was like, yeah, du hast, motherfucker. And then that was the only time I've ever been to Germany. It was just like randomly at this Air Force base in the middle of the night. And then we went, and then we got to Iraq on Christmas Eve. By the time we got there, it was Christmas Eve. We did one show at the embassy, and that was a lot of fun. I worked. You guys wrestling fans?
Oh yeah, baby.
Corey is. I grew up one. I fell out of it a few years ago. Corey is massively into it.
So Gail Kim, she's married to Chef Robert Irvine. He was there. And she was,
Okay,
like, a
all right,
wrestler.
yeah.
She's Asian.
Yeah. I'm not
super
too
hot.
familiar, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
She like the bit was she would like beat the shit out of me in front of all the other soldiers and shit. Yeah, like I'd come out and be like, "Oh,
Good
it's
bit.
a lady. Oh, I thought we were in Iraq, not Vietnam." Then she just like kicked the shit out of me, and it was great. But yeah, we did 4 shows in 2 days, and
There's
then,
oh my god.
it was
There's some
intense.
stuff. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying?
But it was the best audience I think I've ever had in my whole life.
I bet, man. I bet they were glad to see what you just described. That's fucking rad.
They would fucking love the 3 of you guys. You guys would crush that shit. If you could just see it. You got to get past the cynicism, though. That's the other thing, because it's hard. Oh, my God. So Christmas Eve, we just finished the show in the embassy in Baghdad. And after the show, there's like these 2 Iraqi soldiers that are there because like we're buddies now. And there's these 2 Iraqi soldiers there, and they're waiting for the chairman. And then when the chairman gets off stage and like wishing everyone a Merry Christmas, they like crumbled up in a ball. They hand him like this black cloth, and he holds it upside down, and it's an ISIS flag that they captured the night before. And like they would only they wouldn't fold it. They would only crumble it in a ball and hand it to each other. And then the chairman like jammed it in his pocket. It was like the craziest fucking thing I ever saw.
That's
and then I
fucking
accidentally
intense.
went to a midnight mass afterwards.
It was a midnight mass.
Oh, so Catholics.
Yeah, I've done
I
this once because I dated a Catholic. Actually, I don't know if y'all know this, Corey Drew. Bag of shit Amber was a Catholic.
I can see
weird.
that.
And I went to midnight mass with her once. But
Is
go
that the
ahead,
one
Ed.
who thought all the Jews were dead?
Yes. Yep.
I mean, I've been to mass before. It don't hit.
Ed, our listeners have heard the story, but real quick to explain that, she wasn't excited about it. She just thought that all Jews died in the Holocaust.
She thought Hitler was
upset by that
successful.
news.
Yeah, she thought Hitler really got it done.
It actually is related to wrestling, kind of, because I had been talking to her big fat redneck ass stepdad about wrestling, and Bill Goldberg had gotten brought up, and then right as me and her were leaving, and so the conversation continues in the car between me and my girlfriend at the time, and she said something about Bill Goldberg, and I was like, yeah, I love Goldberg, and I'm naming off all the reasons I like Goldberg, and one of them I was like, also, I mean, I feel like you don't see too many Jewish guys like that, jacked, huge, bald, whipping people's asses. I was like, that's just kind of cool. And she goes, what? And I was like, well, Bill Goldberg, he's Jewish. And she was like, no, he's not. And I was like, what do you mean, no, he's not? And she's like laughing like it's the dumbest shit she's ever heard in her life. She's like, Trae, there are no Jews. And I was like, what? She was like, Hitler killed all the Jews, Trae. Are you serious?
Don't you know how television works?
Yeah.
Eddie asked Trae how long it took him to break up with her after that.
How long were you with this woman?
At least 2.5 years longer. Yeah. Now, I tell people that sometimes and they're like, oh my God, did you break up with her? And I was like, shit, my dick grew 3 sizes that day.
Finna give her the Schindler's Fist.
She could start a John Deere, baby. Now y'all all know it.
I'll tell you.
Anyway.
The Jews could have used Goldberg back in the 40s. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Oh, Lord, but we digress. Anyway, you went to a midnight mass.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just go.
No, it's fine. So I'm sitting there, and then I realize I'm kind of by myself. I don't know where Jeff went. I don't know where my other people went. And I'm hanging with the Army doc because he's cool as hell. And then he's like, here, come on with us. And then I saw the chairman walking off, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, my rule is stay by the chairman. When all else fails, you won't get killed. So it's just like, so I start following them, and I go into the back of this mess hall, and there's like a makeshift like Catholic mass for midnight mass. And then he's like, Ed, you want to come? Please sit next to me and my wife. So I'm at midnight Catholic mass on Christmas Eve. I'm a staunch atheist. And so I'm sitting next to the chairman and his wife at a Catholic mass in the middle of fucking Baghdad. The guy performing the mass has a gun on his hip. He's like an old African, like, priest, and he's got a gun, and then another dude with a gun on his hips, like reading out of the Bible and like telling us about how beautiful it is and life is wonderful and how great it is. Like, this is the craziest shit I've ever fucking been a part of. And like they made me like lead a prayer, and like I just like I can't tell these people how much I don't.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they were like, well, Ed, what do you? It's like I love.
Dude. Yeah, Trae.
Ed,
I know
you raised Jewish. Am I mistaken?
My father's Jewish and my mom was Catholic, so
Okay.
I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school,
Okay.
which is why I'm an atheist. So
Yeah,
I was raised
Trae.
Jewish.
Trae, I don't know if you know this, but really super religious people, one of their superpowers is being able to find out who would be the most uncomfortable leading a prayer and then asking that person to do it. Like, I don't know how they do it, but they can just pinpoint right in.
I did not want to be there. I was sweating my ass off.
I got one more question about that, and I don't want to talk about the documentary for sure, but I'm very curious.
I'm open book, baby.
So, okay, it's Christmas. There's shows. They brought you over there. It's, troops and shit, bureaucrats and all this. But you're in Iraq. What is the drinking situation for anybody? Like, how prevalent was it? Could you have gotten drunk if you wanted to? Was it like a secretive thing? How did that work? I've always wondered that.
There's one bar in all of Iraq, and it's on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, and we went to it. It's called Baghdad.
Of course it is.
And it's like an Irish pub run by like a bunch of dudes from I can't remember where they're from, some stand country. And and it was crazy. We hung out all night long. After we did 3 shows, it was like 3 a.m, and the chairman's like, let's go to the bar. And we're like, fuck yeah, let's rock. Because we're all hyped up on super soldier drugs to keep us awake. Was it
Word?
Provisual. You ever hear it? Like, it's called
What?
Yeah.
You got meth?
The fighter pilot stuff.
That's meth,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It's basically
Provigil, yeah.
it's basically Adderall, but it doesn't make you crazy. It just makes
You
you
got to
awake and
do
alert.
Yes.
that?
Did they?
I
did
got a whole
Ah.
bunch of it. The Army doc gave it to all of us. He was all did like because everyone brought their wife.
All
on
right,
the
yeah,
store.
we got to go do a USO tour for sure. I'm trying to
Not
get
in this
Uncle Sam
administration, they're not
smacked
gonna
out.
let us.
Right.
Oh man.
Hey, well-read fans who are on the fence about Joe Biden because he's not enough for you, that's one goddamn reason to vote for him. We might finally be able to do a USO tour. All right, go ahead.
What hit?
Well, when we got back, actually, so yeah, but we're on this drug, and I'll talk about that in 2 seconds. Let me forget about when we got back. And so we're all on this drug called Provigil, like us, like the generals' wives, the sergeant majors' wives. You know, we're all just like 5 a.m.
Ed's just talking about the women. Yeah, me and all these women were doing drugs.
Yeah, and we basically drank until our plane was ready, and then we gathered our shit and then just slept all the way back to America for like
Goddamn.
17 hours. But it was fucking fun. And I was up like late. I got a great picture I'll have to share with you guys. It's like me with my arm around the chairman with a beer in my hand at fucking 4 a.m. in Iraq. And it was
Again,
just
the
like,
chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, right? That's
Yeah.
every time you say the chairman, that everybody remember that's the chairman he's talking
And
about.
you're
The
just
chairman
twacked out of your
the
mind.
Joint Chiefs of fucking Staff.
Yeah. Joseph Dunford, he's gone now. But he was great. I really loved him. He was surprisingly liberal. Like he was, all the conversations we had were great. Oh man, I got the sergeant major. He was great. He was like, "You're a liberal. You're trying to take our guns." This is also like 5 a.m. We're all hammered. And he's like, and then I'm like, I bet I could convince you of 3 simple rules about guns that you agree with. And he's like, all right, try me. I was like, all right, how about a vision test? So I was like, well, assume that, you should have a vision test before you buy a gun. He's like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Now I was like, how about insurance? Like in case you shoot somebody, you should be able to pay for their medical insurance. And he's like, that's a good idea. And I was like, yeah, I know.
Right.
And then I was just like, well, how about if we, how about like a training course? So we can like you have a driver's license. When you go that, you have your permit for a year. I was like, and then you learn how to shoot your gun. It's your gun. And then he's like, so that would work. Yeah. I was like, that's all I want. I was like, I want a gun. I was like, don't think that we're all like trying to take guns away. It's like, I'm in the land of guns.
I mean,
Like,
granted, I'm in the South. So this is different. But like almost every liberal that I personally know has never once said, let's take anyone's fucking guns. Like, it's pretty much what you just said.
Yeah, no, just let's have a little bit of order.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of responsibility.
Well,
I loved how Obama put it. Let's treat it like cars.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Hard as a car. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because I've had almost that exact same experience you had with the fucking sergeant major of the Army or whatever with my buddy Kobe that I grew up with from back home. But like it's the same exact, and Katie's redneck ass uncle, same exact, like just I go back home, guns get brought up, and it pretty much plays out exactly the way you just outlined it in that conversation. They think because I'm now, California and I'm liberal queer and all this, that I'm in favor of taking their guns. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I never said that. I never have said that. Well, what do you think? And then we go through it, and we pretty much agree on all of it, like you just said. And they're like, well, shit.
Yeah,
So-
that happens with me and my 15-year-old nephew, but I feel like that's like way more acceptable. It's like, yeah, you're an ignorant 15-year-old, but like sometimes with like, well, that dude's in the Army. He should know how news works, and he should read. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
man. I remember when I was stupid and young, I bought an AK-47 with my tax return.
He's from Florida, as a reminder. You have to do that in Florida.
Yeah. Because in Florida, you can then write it back off for the next year. That's double points at the Marriott, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, like I was saying, so when we get back, this was right.
Yeah.
We did
H&R
this
Glock.
like right after Trump got elected, 2016 Christmas. So he's not president yet, but he's about to be president. And we get back, and we're in Florida. And Jeff goes to Mar-a-Lago one day to just hang out because it's like, it's so bizarre, everything that's happening. We're like, all right, Jeff also knows Trump. So it's just like, he's like, I'm going to go, I'll say hi, see what's going on. And then he gets there, and then he tells Trump, he sees Trump, Trump invites him over to his table. He's eating a burger dipped in mayonnaise. And
That
I can't hate everything about that.
yeah, broken clock, man, broken clock.
but he literally goes like this. Jeff's like, "Oh, I just came back from a USO show in Iraq on Christmas." He's like, "Oh yeah, it's a terrible job over there. What do you think about Schwarzenegger on The Apprentice? It's gonna fail, right?" Just like that. That was how he like wanted to talk about USO shows and the fucking war. It's like the ratings are gonna be terrible. It's like,
What
oh,
a
God.
fucking piece of shit.
That very much checks out. So, all right, Ed, like, yeah, as everybody can tell by now, my experience with you has always been like you're just a hell of a good time and a fun guy to be around.
Y'all
Funny,
the same.
awesome, very lovable. But it's not all sunshine all the time. Obviously, you referenced it earlier. Went through some shit with your mom. Decided to make a movie about it. The movie is called How America Killed My Mother. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about it, and then also make sure at the end to tell people how they can like go about checking it out and whatnot if they want to. But let's talk about it.
Absolutely. So 2016, my mom is a brittle diabetic, and we're very poor at this point in our lives. I got no money. I'm a comedian who's a cook, and my mom, and I'm an only child. My parents are divorced, and my mom is working in a nursing home making $10-20 an hour, trying to make ends meet. She's a brittle diabetic, type 1 diabetic. And I don't know if you know this about diabetes, but it costs, on average, $16,000 a year to be a diabetic.
Right.
That's for your insulin, for your needles.
That's been brought up this very week, right? Or I guess it was last week now, because it was one of the things that Trump screamed over Biden in the debates was about insulin being as cheap as water or whatever. He was talking about how it's cheap to be a diabetic, and a lot of diabetics were very upset by that.
I couldn't have been more like, I just wanted to rip my television off the wall, throw it out my fucking window. I was very upset, just because like, not true at all. The price of insulin has gone up. Hold on, I actually took some notes. The price of insulin from 2008 until now has gone up from $147 a month to $530 a month.
Jesus.
That's like, it's gone up that fast. Yeah, to live. This is like basic life. My mom's making $32,000 a year. Right. $16,000 is going to being a diabetic. Yeah. That shit don't add up. She's not going to survive. She can't pay her rent. She can't do anything. And so when this happens, and like I said before, she's a brittle diabetic. And I don't know if you know what that means.
I don't.
That means she's very fragile. And so at any point, like, her emotions control her sugar. And like, when your sugar goes up, you can stroke out. When it goes down, you just straight up die. Right. And you pass out, and you can't be awake anymore. It's awful. And every time it drops below a certain number, you get brain damage. Now, it's not like you're going to you don't know what you're talking about if your sugar drops once or twice, but if it happened like 4 times a week for 30 something years, it's going to take its toll. And so the last couple of years of my mom's life, she wasn't all with it, and so and we're trying to make ends meet. We're trying to make money, and she doesn't know how to make money. And so she ends up developing a gambling problem, because, one time you win big and then you think that's the answer. And the next thing you know, it's just a vicious fucking cycle, especially when you're living an hour from Atlantic City. And it made me realize after she passed away, just like all the different institutions, not just the government with our shitty healthcare system, but, how everybody was just kind of taking advantage of her because she was ignorant and desperate. Is the best way to put it, and she's my mother, so it's hard to say, but it's just like, that's what was happening. So everyone, when they see blood in the water, they fucking strike, whether it's the banks or the casinos, or a fucking check cashing store down the street. Everyone's trying to fucking take a little bit, and it adds up real fast. And my mom, she was susceptible to all of it because we needed to buy insulin, and we got to the point where she's getting expired insulin donated from her endocrinologist, which is a diabetes doctor, and just living off of that shit. I was trying to figure out how to get shit from Canada. I could never figure it out, and it was just a fucking disaster until one day she had this machine also, which is a blood sugar monitor, and basically it would beep when her sugar dropped, and she would know she'd have to drink some orange juice or eat some glucose tablets, to bring her sugar back up. But the thing is, like a year and a half before she died, her job changed their insurance plan, and then the new insurance didn't cover the machine. And so they're like, well, you can keep the machine that you already have, but you got to give us $800, or you're going to have to give the machine back. And like back then, like $800 might have well been $5,000, like we were dirt poor. And so it was just like, okay, I guess we're giving the machine back. And then she died in her sleep, because the machine didn't wake her up.
Like right after that?
No, like a year later.
Yeah.
But
still, if she'd had the machine,
it would have beeped and woke her up.
Up. Right.
Yeah.
And the only reason she didn't have the machine was because she didn't have $800 in order to keep the machine.
Exactly.
Man.
And so that was like, it was just like a pile-on for so long, and it just drove me fucking crazy with the overdraft fees and these, like, all this other shit that, like, I don't understand why we don't even, like, attempt to take care of our poor. The banks drive me crazy with this shit. $34 billion in overdraft fees. That's $34 billion they made in 2017 from the poorest people in our country.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only reason to give them a bank account is so hopefully they fuck up an overdraft and you can charge their ass.
Right.
That's the only, because otherwise it's not even worth it for them to give them a bank account.
It's been pointed out a million times by now, but I mean, because it's true, but like, it's expensive to be poor or to be broke. And, if you have a lot of money, you just get given more money. Like your money just gives you money for free, basically. And if you don't have any money, it costs money to not have any money, and it's just so fucked up and flipped on its head. And I know me and you have talked about this before, and I'm not going to go into like heavy detail on it, but I know I understand very well a lot of what you're talking about, because my dad died of pancreatic cancer, and we also were dirt poor, and I was very furious and frustrated by that process too, because it just felt like the fact that he was poor, we were poor, meant he just got nothing, basically. I was working for the DOE at the time, but I had the Department of Energy, which is a pretty good job, but I had no spare money or anything. And at the same time, my dad had pancreatic cancer. A guy I worked with at the Department of Energy who had been there for like 30 years, and was like, had good salary and good benefits and stuff, had the exact same kind of pancreatic cancer my dad had. And he survived, and I like the guy. This was also tragic because he passed away too, but he survived like a year to 18 months or something like that. My dad lasted like 6 weeks after getting basically the same diagnosis. And I know it's because he just didn't get the same like level of care because he was, a poor white trash guy. And like, I don't know, this is a fucked up thing to say, but like weirdly, I'm almost like, I don't know, there's just weird kind of like, I'm trying to think of how to say this. I'm glad I didn't have to watch that process for a year, more than a year, or, an extended amount of time.
Yeah.
The way that you kind of did. Cause like for me, we were poor my whole life, but as far as what my dad went through with the illness and everything, it was, it came up and was over pretty quickly, and it was brutal, but it went pretty quickly at least. So, but yeah, I know. So like, I can relate, but also I can't, because having to be constantly reminded of that for that amount of time is got to be fucking rough.
Oh my God. It makes you insane. Like the last year of my mom's life, I mean, she wasn't in her right state of mind,
Right.
and that was really hard to kind of like be around for, like she didn't know where Europe was one time when we were talking, like it would get like that. And you're just like, okay, so we'll have to slow these conversations down a little bit and change the way things are. And, and I definitely have regrets. Like I could have moved down there. I could have like moved in with her and like tried to fucking get everything right. But I didn't have any money. I was in New York trying to scrape by, and like my career was just getting started. I just booked my first like 2 TV gigs, and it was just like, man, it's like, do I just quit and like fucking babysit my mom forever? I don't know. Like, how long is this going to last? And so I was only an hour and a half away, and I thought that'd be enough. And obviously it wasn't. And, but like I tried. I took over her bills because she was irresponsible with her money. We opened a joint bank account and shit. And like I did all that stuff. But, when it came down to it, if I turned my back for a day or two, she'd run off to Atlantic City, and then like write bad checks. And the thing is, you know, you write a bad check, like that's on you. Like you fuck up, you know, like everyone understands. Like I get that, like we're adults, but she was not in the right state of mind and she was desperate. And so like, that's where I think it changes for me.
Well, I was about to say,
it was definitely preying on her.
Yeah, there's a pretty big difference between, you know, someone who's just fuck it, I don't want to work, I'll just write bad checks, see how long I get by, and someone who has just been given a, hey, if you don't have this amount of money that you're in no condition to make, you have to die. There's a huge difference between those two people. So,
as someone who's defended probably hundreds of people when it comes to writing bad checks, I can think of maybe two. One woman sticks out who was just like, she was funny as shit. She was like, yeah, no, I just, I like stuff.
Drew.
Other than that,
Drew, I thought we agreed you weren't going to talk about my mom on here whenever this goes.
You're getting, those acting classes are helping, because I thought my sound was fucked up or something.
Me too. Turns out Trae was just really drawing from something.
but the other 98%, absolutely every time in my experience, it was like, we needed diapers, or I thought I had money, but then this happened and I forgot about it. Then I got the overdraft fee, and that's why the check bounced, because I had 3 overdrafts. The shit you're talking about. So it's not just expensive to be poor; it's actually illegal to be poor.
Yep.
Yeah, man, it's true. Fucking crazy. And like, what's the expression? You're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
You know, like
Always.
so that's what my mom was doing. You know, like your checking account's negative $300. So I can't put my check in there, because if I put my check in there, then I don't have enough money for rent. So what I'll do is I'll go to a check cashing store where they take 10% of my check, and then I'll be able to, then I'll buy a money order from them, and that's $10. And then I'll take that, and then that's how I'll pay my rent this month. Or maybe I'll open another checking account at another bank. So now I got 2 checking accounts, 3 checking accounts. But this one, those 2 are negative, but this one's positive. So I'll put my check in there, and I'll take some of that money and I'll put it in that bank, and I'll take some of the other money, I'll put it in that. It's like the worst fucking system in the world. And during all of that, you're spending over $1,000 a month in medicine. Which is just like such a fucking huge number for someone making $10-20 an hour. You know, like, so it's like, it's impossible. So I was just like, when I sat down and really thought about it, I was just so fucking mad about it. I was like, the only skill I have is to be able to tell a story and be able to, like, I learned how to like make, so I'm like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this life insurance money, and I'm going to make this movie, and I'm going to confront everyone who fucked over my mom. And, it was intense, from everyone from my father to TD Bank,
Well, so that's a perfect segue, because I was going to make sure and get into the specifics of the documentary itself. You gave us sort of the background on the story or whatnot, but talk about the film itself.
Yeah. Well, when it came down to the life insurance, when I said I took half of the life insurance money, very important for people to know. If your parent dies and there is no estate, you don't owe anyone anything. All right. If they also have life insurance money, which that comes to you tax-free, that's your money. You don't have to pay their debts with that money. Very important. Everyone knows that. Everyone will try to convince you that that's not true.
Also, make sure if they do have one that you, as their child, are the benefactor. If there is no benefactor, it just goes to the estate, and then you're fucked. So make sure you're the personal benefactor. Thank you for pointing that out, Ed.
Absolutely. And but what happened with my mom, remember I was saying how she wasn't in her right mind the last couple of years of her life?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the last week was much worse, and I didn't know it, because also another big thing that lays into all of this is like the shame we put on each other for being poor and being broke. Sure. And everyone's embarrassed with shit. And so my mom got very sick the last week of her life, obviously, and she went to the hospital 2 times. And 4 days before she died, she signed a paper saying that she wanted to lower her life insurance because she wanted to lower her payments from $60 a month to $40 a month. And so she lowered her life insurance, cut in half. 4 days before she died, she signed the paper. So instead of $60,000, I got $30,000. And I tried to explain, like, here are the hospital reports. She's in and out of the hospital. She's obviously not in the right state of her mind. She died in her sleep. She's all fucked up. And no one gives a shit. No one cares at all. Like, it's just like, yeah, we get to keep that money now. So, and like, yes, she did sign the paper, but you should have they should know that sometimes when you die 4 days later, maybe your brain isn't working the way it should be working. And so it's like,
also, who come up with the idea to lower her payments? It sounds like they knew she was about to die,
Yeah,
and so
somebody
they were
said
trying
that
to
shit.
cut their losses.
yeah, and just calling fucking desperate, crying, all this shit. And like when it comes back to the casinos, my mom loved going to Trump Taj Mahal, of course. It's just like an extra little kick in the nuts. And so but the way they took bad checks, that shit was disgraceful because like, first of all, like, you bounce a check, all right, you bounce a check. You bounce like 4 checks at the same place in a week, maybe you don't take any more checks from this person.
Right.
But no, that's not what they do, because that's not where they make their money. They make their money on the bounce check fees that they're charging you every time a check bounces. And then Trump Taj Mahal, all right, so you guys have all been broke. If you bounce a check, they can deposit it you try to deposit it 3 times, and then you can get caught on overdraft fees 3 times. Well, Trump Taj Mahal figured out how to deposit it 6 times, because they would deposit it 3 times as a paper check and 3 times as an electronic check. And so, like, when my mom's got 4 bad checks going, 6 times each, $50 each time. It's just like the numbers just like it explodes.
Yeah.
And just don't even. We didn't have a chance. That was where we were at, and so I was fucking furious. And the bank not giving back the overdraft fees. She's in there crying, talking about how she can't buy medicine and shit. And then you look her in the eye. Also, any bank manager can do whatever they want, by the way. Just so everyone knows, bank manager can be like, don't worry about it. It's all forgiven. But no, they didn't do any of that for her. And she's in there in tears. And the only reason I know that's true is because I was on the phone with her. And they're just looking at this crying woman, and they could easily just say, don't worry about it. But they're like, no, you owe us that $600 and you can't have your fucking life put together. We don't worry that you got to go to the canned food fucking, place to go, it's a horrible way to end her life. And she was such a good woman and didn't deserve any of that shit. And you know what? And the fucked up thing is, it happens hundreds of times a day all over this goddamn country. Thousands of times, who knows? And no one cares. And it's just like, oh, too bad, you fucked up. Good luck. You should have known better. It's like, not everyone knows better.
Yeah, you're right. Should have used your bootstraps and that type of thing.
And
like, they have no sympathy because they're like, it's your own fault. And it's like, no, like you said, not everyone knows better. Some people, I don't know. Buddy, I could go all day on this subject. It gets me fired up too.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I just don't just fundamentally, it doesn't make sense in terms of I know that we're these, the Trump Taj Mahal motherfuckers, in their mind, they're like, well, fuck them. I'll keep getting the bank fees and I'll keep getting it. But long-term wise, how can anyone at the top think this is beneficial for us all in the end? There's no way this will cause riots and this will cause people to occupy Wall Street and this will cause, it makes no sense to me that you can't see that, hey, okay, maybe if we make 0.2% less right now, the world will be a better place, and ultimately these people will not die, and they will be the consumers that we live. We are the runners of a consumer-driven market. You'd think it would benefit us to keep those that consume alive and wanting to consume, but they literally just want the 0.2% now, which goes completely against what they normally preach to you, which is like, hey, just be conservative now, and then later everything will be good. They preach that right into your head, but they don't go with it fundamentally, and it just blows my fucking mind that I don't know.
They get suckers for thinking that they feel that way. They preach that in our minds, but at the very top, I mean, what you're talking about is the opposite of venture capitalism, and the rich people that are that rich, like the people, not the guy maybe who manages the check into cash, but the Peter Thiels who own them.
Right.
They're literally planning to start their own country. They're literally doing that right
They'll
now.
never have to, the protests don't matter to them.
They're going to suck everything they can
out
of off the dying teat of this country. And then if it does implode, they'll just hire their private security to murder us all and or build their own country.
Right.
Yeah,
they've got a huge gate.
I've mentioned it before on here, but they're Seattle tech billionaire named Nick Hanauer, who I've done some shit with, who his whole entire thing now is trying to convince other billionaires of exactly what you're talking about right now, Corey. Like his whole thing to his peers is like basically, hey, do you guys not realize that like if we keep up with this in this direction for long enough, like they're gonna fucking kill all of us.
Yeah,
like eventually, they're gonna bust through the gate with their pitchforks. They're gonna fucking set us on fire and eat us all if we don't stop. Like he tries to take that angle on it, and they basically just laugh in his face.
I mean,
like,
but
they're not at all concerned about
to their
that.
They're evil. They're not stupid because like to them, they're like, well, yeah, if they can get to me, like if they can get to me behind this fence and this wall and this blah, blah, blah. But I mean,
my armed guards and my fucking,
like
they don't,
they don't care. Like those people, like to point out to what Drew was saying, they're not the ones who are actually walking to work on Wall Street who are going to have to step over these motherfuckers playing hacky sack. Like they're at home counting the money that those people made for them. So like, I don't know, man.
Well, yeah, that's what's crazy. We're going to end up killing a bunch of fucking day traders, and I'm not saying they're good people, but, like, their bosses ain't going to give a fuck about that.
Right,
No.
exactly. No, at all.
Find another person to plug into that fucking job. And, like, when's the last time any of you went to Atlantic City? You've done shows there fairly recently at some point, right?
I don't think so.
No, we've done casino shows before, but only in Vegas or actually Southern Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, Florida, Hard Rock Casino,
which is the Atlantic City of the South for sure.
Right. Yep. We've never done shows in
fight over pancakes.
Atlantic City though.
Well, I don't know when the last time you've been to Atlantic City, but in Boardwalk Empire, it was nicer. It's fucking, it is a dreadful fucking place. And then, it is like, we talk about that. It's like, don't you want your city to look nice?
Yeah,
don't you want there to be like 10 less pregnant dogs running around the goddamn like it's just like, it's so crazy to me. It's like you walk
just
outside.
10 less. We're not saying no pregnant dogs. We're just saying 10 less. We're conservative. We're just saying 10 less, all right?
It turns out that's not the Atlantic City of the South. Atlantic City is the Atlantic City of the South.
Yeah, no shit.
But yeah, no, when Trump Taj Mahal closed down, because it closed down, I was like the last person to get in there and get footage of the place. But because they were closed down the week afterward, they furloughed, they laid off everybody and then sold their pensions. Carl Icahn, he's a fucking, what's he? He's in the cabinet. Carl Icahn, he's one of the owners of Lyft. He took over the Taj Mahal for Trump after he left, and they sold everyone's pension. 3,000 people, fucked. You're a waiter at a Trump Taj Mahal for 30 years. The only reason you're doing that is for your pension, and then all of a sudden that's just ripped from you, and now you have to figure out how to survive. And that shit's, Atlantic City is dying. 10,000 jobs in the last 4 years they've lost. And that's a lot when it comes to a city that's only got 200,000 people in it, less. So it's just, what are you doing?
Yeah, man. No, things are not great at present. But, so Eddie, how can people check out the documentary How America Killed My Mother?
You go to howamericakilledmymother.com. Luckily, the URL was still available. And,
there's probably a lot of people are like, damn, I wish I'd have thought of that.
Yeah.
HowAmericaKilledMyMother.org would be so funny.
.gov.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, howamericakilledmymother.com. You can rent it. It's available. It's on Vimeo. You can rent it or you could purchase it and it'll live on your Vimeo forever. But I just
let me give it an extra plug and pay you a compliment as a person and a filmmaker. The part with your dad, I was so invested, and I was also so rooting for you but mad at you. I don't want to give too much away, but I was like, fuck him. No. And then also you're a good dude. That's a good dude. Anyway, there's a lot of heart in it, and it's a great movie.
Yeah. Not to give away the ending, but I make up with my dad, and it's honestly, it feels so good, to not hate the dude that I came from anymore. You know, we have a good relationship. We talk on the phone. I asked him for advice. I don't always take it, but I like to hear what he's got to say, you know, because we're part of each other.
Right.
You know, so it's like people, I don't know what anyone's beef is with their father, and there's lots of horrible dads out there that don't deserve to be forgiven. And my dad certainly sucked for a good portion of my life, but honestly, having him as a buddy again, I wouldn't give it back for anything. And I think a lot of people need to know that, you know, forgiveness is a lot easier than hate. And, you know, it's so hard to carry that fucking burden and just like hatred for so long. And now it's great. I mean, he's also a victim of diabetes. He's got no legs anymore. You know, he's just an old beaten down man. And so it's like, well, what am I even hating? You know, like it's
yeah, well, that's another thing. You know, me and you got a lot in common in this regard, but it's like flip-flopped because I already talked about my dad, but also like my mom, I only as an adult finally like forgave my mom. We're not like super close, but you know, we talk and text and shit all the time, and I have no problem with her. Like we're on good terms now, and I completely agree with everything you said about just how much better and preferable and easier it is to not be angry with somebody or like you said, filled with hate or resentment or anger or whatever, and just let go of all that. It is definitely preferable because look, my mama's still crazy, and I joke about my mama and shit. You know, I did it just a little bit earlier. Mostly it hits for her now. She thinks it's funny, so like it's fine. But yeah, but it ain't. You know, but we're good now, and we weren't for so long. And it's
maybe it's different.
Speaking the truth.
I wish I had a person that I could forgive and let go of all this.
I was just gonna say, I think it might be different if it's not your parents, because I fucking hate one of my grandmothers, and like I don't feel bad. Like I love it. Like I love hating her. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of fun to like shit on. So like, but she's not my mom. You know, like I genuinely like I don't ever want to forgive her, but like because like you know that'd ruin this little kind of quirky part of me, which is like fuck my grandmother. She sucks.
Oh man, if someone threw a rock at my Aunt Judy, I'd give him another rock. You know, like.
Oh, that made me lightheaded, dude.
Oh, well, Eddie, as always, you've been an absolute prince. I miss you, man. I wish this shit would go away so we could
miss you too,
hang
buddy.
out and stuff again, have some parties and whatnot. But
we'll figure it out.
When this is all over, we should just all go to DC together and get us a goddamn big orca on you, boy.
Would help.
Honestly, that's a fucking phenomenal idea.
So,
Ed, I want to thank you for the orca too, because these guys fat all the time, and most of the time my skinny ass ain't involved. But I love seafood, and when I found out that that was the tradition, I was like, "Fuck yeah! Finally, I can get in on the fat."
Yeah,
hell yeah! I'll see. We actually should do a trip to DC. I got a couple random connections from these USO trips that we could take advantage of. I want to go to the. I think I can get us in the Pentagon.
Yeah.
That's my favorite city on earth, so I'd love that.
All right, so everybody go to howamericakilledmymother.com and check out Mr. Ed Larson here. Otherwise, I'm sure you can tell, he's an awesome feller. And
you guys are wonderful too. I love hanging out.
Buddy.
I'm so happy I got that is one of the great things about this movie is we're buddies now.
I know.
I didn't know you. I didn't know you before it. And it's,
that's right. Travis was like, "Do my buddy Ed's movie about how his mom died," and I was like, "What?"
That is true.
All right. Well, great to see you, Ed.
Peace out, y'all.
See you, brother.
Good to see you, brother.